everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk. I am your host, author Dre Lett. So come on in the room and have a seat so we can let's talk. Thank you for joining me for another fun-filled week where we inform, inspire, and motivate. We get you going during these tough times and beyond. You can watch my show each and every week on Facebook. You can watch the show on Facebook Live, where you could be a part of the live virtual studio audience, or you can watch the pre-recorded shows, which also are on the page Let's Talk with author Dre Lett. You can also purchase my books, which is on my website, which is dtlproduct.net, or on Amazon by typing in my penmanship name, Dre, D-R-E, space, Lett, L-E-T-T. So excited you could join me for another week. You guys, this is what I call Inform Friday. Yes, indeed. Every Friday I deem a special theme. And so I wanted it to be called Inform Friday, simply because we've got some really interesting guests that I think that's going to inform you on some topics that you may or may not be aware of. So a little later, we have law enforcement expert Chief Kevin Williams. He will be here to talk about the mass shootings, gun laws, and other related hot topics. In just a couple minutes, we have our new segment, relationship specialist, Expert Kimberly McCants. Yes, she'll be here to discuss relationship hot topics. You don't want to miss that. She's going to talk about a lot of things in terms of just relationships. I think will be helpful for us all. So I want to give a shout out first and foremost. If you're watching this show pre-recorded, it is the weekend of Father's Day. Yes, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there that's making it happen, that's making sacrifices for their families, going above and beyond, whether it be emotional support, love support, financial support, whatever support. I want to give a special shout out to all the happy Father's Day out there, including my hubby. Mwah. Love you to pieces. Happy Father's Day, babe. And want to let you know that I love and I appreciate everything that you do for your family, for our family. Okay, you guys. So, in hot topics, yes, moving along with hot topics. Oh my goodness. So, some of you that watch the show may know this or may not. As a little girl, I grew up in the Bay Area. And I actually still have the majority of my family there. I've got family in Detroit, but a lot of family members are in Cali in the Bay Area. So as you know, yes, I am a Warriors fan. Yes, I'm so excited. Last night, the Warriors restored their dynasty with a win over the Boston Celtics in Game 6. Yes, I was so excited. The Warriors endured a 2-year hiatus in the NBA wilderness after the departure of Kevin Durant and the extended absence of Klay Thomas due to injury, while Steph Curry, dealt with his own injury. So it was a long battle. And some may say, I'm sick of watching them win, but for a while they were not. So happy for them. And that's just a true story of perseverance. When you hit a wall or something goes against you, got to get up and just keep pushing and keep pushing. And that's why I think Steph, he said it. That's why he cried. He was so happy because he knew that he really was pushing and they all came together. So congratulations to the Warriors. I'm so happy for you guys. Absolutely. Okay, so you guys, it is time to hear a message from our sponsors. Let's cue that up so you guys can take a look at that. And we will be back in just a few minutes. Here's a message from our sponsors.
everybody. My name is Herman Wims. I'm a master herbalist, herbal practitioner. There's a difference. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't offer medical advice. I offer herbal healing advice. Okay, and as you can see, I offer a whole array of different herbs. Herbs are what helps the body to be healthy. Your body's made of minerals. Where do you get these minerals? From Mother Nature's herbs. Okay, and when you're diagnosed with high blood pressure, diabetes, you're not supposed to live with those diseases. You can reverse those things, because if you don't, if you try to manage it, it will get worse over time. Let Mother Nature reverse your disease. Give me a call, 770-714-9107. Let's have a conversation about getting you off of those meds. I don't take people off their medications, their doctors does. I just assist them in getting off.
All right, you guys. So that was a message from our sponsor. Sponsors, if you guys ever want to become a sponsor, just reach out to us by putting a message in the inbox or sending it to detailproduct.net, and somebody will get back with you. It can be an ad, it can be a picture, it can be a shout out, whatever. If you want to be a sponsor, reach out to us and somebody from my team will get back with you. All right. So this is the time where I check in with my Let's Talk fam and see how they're doing. A lot of people in the summer months come back and watch the show. That's where all my numbers are most often. I go back and see that the numbers grew overnight. So I see quite a few of you are watching. Some of you are saying hello. Hey, Wanda, how are you? Thank you for your love and support. Mwah. She is checking in from Atlanta, Georgia. Absolutely. She is one of our sponsors, by the way. And let's see here. Carla, hey girl, how are you? Carla is a faithful viewer. Hey girl, how are you? Love you to pieces. Thank you for your support. And one of our producers, Hubby, is watching from the man cave, faithful as well. Thank you so much, you guys, for saying hello. Those of you, I see quite a few of you are watching, but you're not saying anything. It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. You don't have to give a shout out. It would be nice, but if you don't, it's all good. And if you're watching this in a pre-recorded setting, just make sure if you got any questions or any comments, just put it in the comment field. Myself and my guests, we always go back and read the comments. So so glad you guys are tuning in with us. Excited, yes indeed. So let me go ahead and bring out or introduce our first guest. Okay, you guys. So let me bring up her picture. She is not a stranger to the show. There she is. This is Miss Kimberly McCants. I'm so excited. She is now going to be part of our segment. She's going to have a segment here on Let's Talk twice a month. So Kimberly McCants is no stranger to Let's Talk. In fact, she's, as I said, she's our new relationship expert, and she'll be featured in 2 segments every month. So you guys will get to hear from her about relationships. You get to ask her questions and all of that. As you all know, she is a relationship expert, counselor, neuromuscular therapist, and an author. Everybody help me welcome to the virtual stage, Miss Kimberly McCants. All right.
Hey,
Well, how are
I'm
you?
doing well. How are you?
Doing good. I cannot complain at all. If I did, who would listen, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm so glad that you accepted my offer of being our show relationship expert, because you are good at what you do.
Thank you,
And,
ma'am.
from time to time, we need somebody like you to check in and, set the record straight and just, yeah, we need somebody like you. So I'm so excited to have you part of the Let's Talk team.
Always happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna let you do your thing. I understand you got some good, some nuggets to share with us. Please, girl. I'm just gonna sit
Mhm.
back and listen.
Okay. I have some nuggets. I also want to, if I can, like also open the floor up so if people have questions, they can feel
Okay.
free to ask me any questions. If they got something they want to just tell and I need to comment to it, we can
Okay.
do that as well.
Absolutely.
Um, so one of the things that I do want to talk on is there are two things. I'm gonna get to the important stuff and then the good stuff right after that. The good. So,
Okay.
um, one of the things that I wanted to address in relationships is people knowing when to get out, recognizing that the relationship is no longer a relationship. It has become now an addiction. You're just there because of a need to hold on to something. And unfortunately, a lot of us go through that. We're in relationships with someone, for 5, 10, 20, 50 years even, and there have been clear signs that it's time to go. But that individual being so used to having someone, having somebody there, something to hold on to, something that's familiar, they either refuse to see the signs or are not confident enough to pay attention to the signs or are in denial that those signs are exactly what they are, and they stay in the relationship. And oftentimes, when you stay in a relationship, when you know you should have gotten out of, it becomes abusive. Now, it doesn't have to become physically abusive, but you're looking at neglect, you're looking at emotional abuse, you could be looking at financial abuse, anything that is not giving or healthy in the relationship is some type of abuse. And those types of abuse become forms of trauma. So you're creating more and more trauma. And the longer you stay in a traumatic situation, your psyche, your body, your organs, your energy, the people that you attract, whatever, also become traumatic. They become very toxic. It's like you're linking one trauma into another. So if you're in the energy of trauma and you stay there, you're asking trauma to come to you, like energies attract. So if you're there, you're asking more trauma to come. When that trauma comes, another one comes. It's like, oh, well, this is the trauma haven. We're going to go there. We're going to spend time with this individual because they're looking for us. So I wanted to just really kind of touch on a few of the obvious uh, signs that relationships are no longer
Yeah.
relationships, or on the trail to becoming broken. One of them is that there's no longer an emotional connection. So if I to give an example, if you are one of those people who are touchy feely, one of those people who are verbally expressive of your emotions towards your person, and you're telling him or her how you feel, or you're trying to touch them, hug up on them or whatever, and that individual walks away or kind of shuns it or doesn't respond to what you're saying. If you're telling them you love them, they're like, okay, all right, or
Mm.
thank you, whatever it is, it's not being reciprocated. There's an issue, and that's normally the first sign that something's not right. There's an emotional detachment, if you will. Also, in that though, people, and mostly women, sadly, not to say that it doesn't happen with men, but women will go through their grieving process in that. So even though the signs are being shown that this individual has detached, there's a denial. This can't be happening. Oh, he must be tripping, or maybe I did something. He's not feeling well. Whatever. There's a denial there. So there's like 5 stages of the of that. I won't go through all of that, on this segment necessarily, but there's a process that happens. And because the denial is there, there's nothing in their mind that says, get out, because it's not happening. That's not the reality. So they have no reason to believe or know that there's something wrong, because they have basically tricked themselves into believing that there's nothing wrong, that what they're seeing isn't actually what's happening. So again, the first sign, or at least one of the signs I would say would be the first, is that there's no emotional connection. Second, there would be either a decrease or a complete lack of physical connection, no physical intimacy. Again, with that touching, with the kissing, and even sometimes, this is one thing that I don't think a lot of women know. A man tells everything he feels in his kiss. If he's very passionate about you, really into you, you'll know it by the way that he kisses you. If he's allowing himself to be vulnerable with you, you'll know by the way he kisses you. So if at some time or in the beginning or whatever, all of that was good to go, there was, very passionate embraces and, long kisses or whatever, and it changes to pecks or pecks on the cheek or peck on the forehead, that's that one right there. That's a clear. I'm getting a kiss on the forehead, and that's it. Okay, because that's what a father would do to a child. Okay, move on. But the disconnect physically, the intimacy is, like I say, either dwindling or has stopped completely. If you're laying in the bed and your spouse or significant other turns over and has their back towards you all the time, if you scoot closer to them and they'd rather sleep on the floor, fall off, than touch you, that's a sign. Something's not working. And I don't mean because it's 99 degrees in the house. I mean because they're distancing themselves. So that's definitely something to look at. If they're showing no interest at all in physical activity with you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're engaged with another person. They're just disengaged with you. When people get themselves involved in physical relationship, when there is that connection, it's more than physical. There is an emotional, there's a spiritual, there's, the mental. Something's got to keep you together other than the physical, particularly if a man is not turned on by you, and women too. So let me not do the one-sided, but if they're not turned on by the intellect or whatever initially they were turned on by, they're no longer turned on, it's a done deal. There's really, I won't say there's no way, but it's difficult to go back and, kind of fix that area, because it's like the thing that drew me to you is the same thing that's pushing me away. So that becomes a problem. Another sign would be, constant combat, like you're constantly arguing. You can't find a way to agree on anything. And sometimes one person just doesn't want to agree. Even if what's being said, there is an agreeable point, they're just like, I don't want to hear it, just whatever, just okay, whatever. They're just not, they don't want to agree. They just want to completely be quiet, say what you got to say, I'm out, I don't really care anymore. I said the constant battling is another sign. Nobody wants to be in a relationship where you cannot communicate. Even if you have differences of opinions, you think differently, you were raised differently, whatever it is, you need to be able to communicate those things with one another without it being an argument. You can disagree, but it shouldn't become an argument. So when things start becoming argumentative on a regular basis, no matter how big or small they are, that's a sign, particularly if you're arguing over things that are so little. I recall years ago, and I wasn't doing counseling at the time, but a friend of mine, friend, they actually divorced over chicken nuggets.
No.
You're kidding, right? They got
Oh my
divorced over
God.
chicken nuggets? Like
Mm.
who had more? Or, I mean, what was the problem? But that was like the final straw for them. They were not allowing themselves to communicate on the things that led up to the chicken nuggets. That wasn't the problem, but the fact that they were at the point of fighting about it was a problem. So the other things that led up to it had not been addressed. They had not sought, counseling or whatever.
Wow. Uh-oh. Her signal. Oh, it was getting good. Oh my goodness. You guys, it was getting good. Her signal. Hopefully she'll come back. You guys make sure you hone in some questions. This is some good stuff. That's an interesting topic. Here she is. Hold on one second. Let's put her back in. Uh-oh. There you are. Yay. Okay. It was getting deep, girl.
Okay. Okay. So we move on from the chicken nuggets and go on to the next. Another sign is I say wandering eyes, but it's more of a wandering interest.
Oh.
So your partner is no longer interested in you or how your day was or whether or not you're interested in what they're doing. They don't care anymore. It's like you're not even there to them. You're almost a non-factor to them. Do what you want to do. I don't care. If you come home, you do. If you don't, you don't. That kind of thing. Clear indication something's not right. Like this relationship is no longer a relationship. Like I said, each person will have their own interests or separate interests, and you may not from the jump be interested in what your mate was interested in. But in a healthy relationship, you are going to make an effort to at least find out why they're interested. What is it about this that you're interested in? You know what I'm saying? There's a respect for that. But this, if you get to the point of, I don't care what you're doing, you had a bad day, that's your problem. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a major problem.
Oh, wow.
Another one, which is a big one, is the trust is gone. So and not just based on the insecurity, but the insecurity also, it plays in a trust factor. And those tend to elevate, the insecurities elevate when there's a trust factor and vice versa.
Okay.
So if those generally, the trust factors and the insecurity are usually preceded by some of these other factors. Some of these other things have already occurred. And because the other person, or the one person who is distancing themselves, you're seeing it. It's like, well, now I'm super insecure. Well, why are you doing this? Well, can we work it out? And blah, 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 blah. Well, you've seen all the other signs. Again, it's part of the process of denial, and the anger and the depression and the let's work it out, and it's a whole process of things that occur, but you're missing it until it becomes extremely obvious, and then it's like, well, I don't trust you. Well, yeah, at this point you have no reason to, because all of the signs have been shown. This individual's gone. They're no longer attached to you in that way. And then another would be when your goals don't align with each other anymore. You no longer want the same thing. So
That's
you may be in a relationship with, someone that wants to be married, long term, obviously have children, build together, have a business together or whatnot. And the other one is like, yeah, well, let's just see how it goes. I mean, you can't trust everything. And I'm just, wait a minute, we've been doing this thing for how long? And now all of a sudden we're not on the same path,
mm-hmm.
when it goes completely the opposite way. That's an indicator. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of a lot of factors that will let a person know this is not healthy. And then another one clearly is if you just can't stand to be in the presence of that individual. You don't want to hear their name. You don't want to see them. You don't want to smell them. You don't want to know they exist anymore. Nothing. If
Wow.
it aggravates you to that point, it's time to go. Because if you stay in the vicinity of that individual
Mm-hmm.
and the anger builds up and the disrespect builds up, the frustration, whatever word you can use there, a lot of times it then becomes violent.
Oh.
You don't want to get it to that point because it's not, I'm frustrated. You're still in my face. I don't know what to do. You won't just leave, and it gets bigger than that. It gets bigger than what it needs to be. So when it gets to that point, sometimes also, if it's the man that wants to leave, but there is a financial benefit for him to stay,
Mm-hmm.
all of that resentment is there. You don't want to be in that type of predicament. If he's forced to stay in
Mm-hmm.
the vicinity with you because it benefits him more at that time to stay than it would to go, there's going to be problems. A lot of times that can, and I'm not saying it always does, but it can lead to violence. It
Mm-hmm.
will lead to some type of traumatic experience. That's an absolute. That's an
So, so,
absolute.
so, so would you agree the statement they say it's cheaper to keep her? The guys that say I'll just stay around, I can't stand her, but it's cheaper to keep her type. Is that what you're
Sometimes they think that, but a lot of times too, a man is going to try to figure out everything first. He's going to put every little piece together before he makes his exit. Because he got to have somewhere to go. He's putting it together. So he's going to stay there. If he's got to stay with you for another year, his body's there, but that's it. And
Wow.
you're probably not getting any part of that either. But he's figuring out everything he needs to do. He's going to figure out what you might say, what you might do. He's going to create the scenarios. He may even test the scenario to see if, okay, that works, and then put it together. He's making his exit route. So what I would say to the woman, you need to be doing the same thing. Make your exit plan. Pay attention to everything and create your exit plan. You don't want to stay in a relationship or feel that you have to because it's more beneficial at the time for you to do so. It may be at the time, but then you think, okay, well, now the time is up, but now I have the trauma of this time. I stayed here for a year, I stayed here for 30 days, whatever it is, but now I've accumulated that much more trauma to move on with. Now what? You know what I'm saying? So when you see the signs, start making a plan. Like I said, if you have not been able to communicate with the other person, sit down and let's figure this out, go to counseling, do your spiritual, whatever it is, whatever you do, you put your 100 into it. If you're not able to do that, don't waste your breath, don't waste your time, don't waste your energy, and don't put yourself in a position to be a trauma victim, because that is what's going to happen.
Ooh, that's deep. Oh my goodness, that is so deep, Kim.
Yeah.
Wow. You ladies and gentlemen, chime in if you're watching this previously recorded. Put some comments in the comment section. It's deep because in relationships, we as you said earlier, it's how you're raised, right?
Right.
A lot of us was raised where our grandparents and great grandparents, they stayed together to death. There was
Absolutely.
no divorce. So a
Right.
lot of us, we grew up watching that, and we thought, well, he checked out, but that's what married people do, and so a lot of people they just keep it moving, keep it moving.
Yeah.
Somebody, let's see here, somebody just made a comment. David says this is true regarding a man's exit strategy. Ooh, this huge difference between men and women exit strategies is a man is going to have a replacement in place before he leaves his current. Yes, so he's saying as a man, you are correct. Wow, that's deep. I'd never heard that one. Oh
Yes,
my
ma'am.
gosh.
Yes,
Mm,
ma'am. That we need to have these types of conversations. Like I'm I'm all about the union. I love the unions. I love the marriages. I love that, but it's got to be healthy because I'm
yeah.
also an advocate for time to go when it's time to go.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
see the sign is make a left. So
that's deep. Oh my gosh. Oh,
very
girl, I'm so glad you came on. Before you go, did you want to share any of your goodies with anybody?
I do. I put a warning on my pages. This is grown folks for real, for real. So for those relationships that are healthy and those who are just looking to add a little bit more excitement to their relationship, and you're grown about it. Okay, you're grown about it because this is grown folks stuff. I gotta keep it real. I have a product. I don't know if you can see it, but the
Okay.
product is called Sloppy Kisses.
Okay. Take a
Sloppy
picture and
Kisses.
put it in the comments later. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sloppy Kisses is one of a kind. It's an oral massage oil. I said it out loud.
Ooh,
It's Sloppy Kisses oral massage oil. So that's why I say it's
yeah.
mature. Okay. But it's very effective. I'll say that the purpose of me creating this, again, in my mind, okay, it was to solidify the relationships. How? Because I look at it where if you're with somebody, you're attracted to somebody, you love them, you want to be with them more, right? When you
Mhm.
have something, and now I'm talking about food, when you have something that you like the taste of, you want that more. You want more of that. So when you have the person that you're with that you want to be with anyway, you enjoy their company, their energy, and then you have this deliciousness that you can share on them and with them, it
Okay.
solidifies that. It just makes it more extreme, more extensive, more woo, more all of that, to kind of make the top blow off, is that kind of thing. But it's exciting and
Okay.
it's vegetarian friendly, so there's nothing in it that's going
Okay.
to cause you any harm at all.
Awesome. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Awesome. So Kim, how can they get a hold of you to purchase it if they want to?
Okay. So they're available right now on Etsy. If you go to Etsy.com, you can
Okay.
get the large. These are the larger ones. I have smaller sample sizes. I
Okay.
would advise you get a big one. Okay, I'm just saying. Um, but I've got so many different flavors. The number one flavor right now is apple pie. Everybody there,
Mm.
that's the it right there. So if you're
Now,
interested,
spell your website. I'm gonna put it on the screen as well. How you spell it?
this one is on Etsy, ETSY.
Oh, Etsy. Oh, okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay. So you prefer for them to go there and purchase it or get it through you? Which do you prefer?
Either way, they can do
Okay.
either way. If they want to contact me because they may not want all their business showing up on the Etsy website, you can call me. You can call me directly at 770-906-5271, or you can email me at sloppy.kisses2022
Sloppy.kisses. I'm typing this in. Sloppy.kisses. And what was the rest of it?
2022 at
Okay.
Gmail.
At Gmail. Okay, y'all. Okay. So you said just make it just okay.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Yes.
it. I love it.
It
Anything,
comes with a warning.
it does.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. Oh, yes. The warning is that the use of this product may cause extreme and excessive pleasure, and your
Oh,
yes,
okay. Boom. I know that's right. Well, you will be back again and you can talk more, girl. Your stuff is just so
absolutely.
good. You give awesome,
Appreciate
awesome points that
it.
I
Definitely.
know that a lot of people have not thought about. So I'm so glad and so excited that you are part of the Let's Talk fam. And I'm so glad
Definitely.
you accepted my invitation.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so glad you extended it. Absolutely.
and,
Absolutely.
and again, those watching previously recorded, or even now, if you got any questions, just put it in the comment section, or if you are scared, just go to Kimberly McCants Facebook page and send her a message privately. But she is the bomb.com. So thank
Thank
you,
you,
girl,
guys.
for coming on. I can't wait to come back again.
I'm ready.
All right, well, I'll be talking with you soon. Thank
All right,
you.
beloved. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.
That is awesome. She is so good, you guys. Oh man, she's so good. She's good. She talks about things that I think most people never even thought of. So, and let me be clear, I'm in a happy marriage, but again, it's always good to, hear these type of things. And for those that are struggling in their marriages or on the fence of wondering what should you do, definitely she's amazing. So, okay, so without further ado, I've got to introduce my next expert guest. Yes, indeed. I'm super excited to have him on. I'm glad he accepted my invitation as well. So let me go ahead and formally introduce him. Yes, indeed. This is Chief Kevin Williams. He too is no stranger to Let's Talk. Chief Williams is a law enforcement expert. I am proud to say that he's now the Let's Talk law enforcement expert, and you'll hear from him from time to time. Everyone, help me welcome to the virtual stage Chief Kevin Williams. So excited to have him here. All right. Hey, Chief, how are you?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. I can see you, hear you. Everything sounds great. Last time you was on, I think you had an internet signal and you was outside in the cold doing the show. Remember that?
Yes. That's when I was a chief up in Seattle at a college.
Oh, yeah.
It was freezing outside.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes,
Oh
it
my
was.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And I'm super excited to have you on board. I like with Kimberly, I'm just gonna sit back and let you just share the wealth of knowledge that you have, sir.
Well, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. I sent you a list of the topics that I was going to um, talk about.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I cannot find that email because I sent you about 10 or 15 different things. Would
Okay.
you happen to have that? And if you don't, then we will freestyle it. But
Okay.
I have some things I want to talk about that,
Okay.
that come to mind. A question that a lot of people are asking all the time is why
Mhm.
are these police officers getting off and
Mhm.
not being prosecuted when it is clear in the minds of the viewer that the person died unjustly. And we feel in the Black community that it's always us. And
Mhm.
so people want to know why. And I have no excuse. There is no excuse. But here's what the facts are. The facts are that the United States Supreme Court uh, is the one who decides whether or not certain actions were lawful. They look at the United States Constitution, they collaborate and discuss, and then they come up with a decision. And there are two decisions that every one of your viewers should be intimately familiar with. And those two decisions are Tennessee versus Garner.
Mhm.
And that's a 1985 US Supreme Court case. And that's where they determined what was lawful as it relates to the use of deadly force to prevent escape.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna get into more detail there, but Everybody needs to know what that is. The other one is Graham versus Connor. Graham versus Connor. And that's a 1989 case. And that's where they came up with the objectively reasonable standard regarding investigative stops, when the police can stop people and how much force they can lawfully use. Why do I bring this up? Because every single death at the hands of the police is put through a litmus test to determine, does it meet the standards of Tennessee versus Garner and Graham versus Connor? It doesn't have anything to do with what the family of the deceased believes. It doesn't have anything to do with what the witnesses think should have happened. It doesn't have anything to do with what your pastor or your friends or your homeboy or your family or anybody else thinks should have happened. It's put through those litmus tests. That's the standard. I would assert that the majority of us don't know anything about those two cases and don't know about the standard. So in their mind, they see something and they say, that's wrong. But that's their opinion and that's their observation. And in our hearts, we know that they're probably right, that that's wrong. But that's not the standard. The standard is Tennessee versus Garner and Graham versus Connor. Okay, so why is this significant? Remember down in Atlanta, I think it was a Wendy's drive-through.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. There was a man that ultimately was shot dead. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay, I saw the same video everybody else saw. And I'm looking at that thinking, oh man, that was bad. I thought this was turned off. Hold on.
It's all good.
Okay, I'm sorry. But anyway, I said, oh, that wasn't right. That was me as a man, me as a black man, me looking at a black man being shot and killed and thinking, you know what? There was a better way to do that. Also me as a cop. I've been a cop 44 years. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't have shot that guy.
Right.
I'm not saying the shooting was illegal. I believe, based upon Tennessee versus Garner and Graham versus Connor, that shooting was 100% legal. Okay, and I need to explain that. Okay. But in my heart, I felt it was wrong. Well, the Supreme Court don't ask what my heart feels. The courts don't ask what my heart feels. The courts determine, was that lawful under our United States Constitution and Supreme Court standards? And my speculation, because I'm not an attorney, my speculation, that shooting is going to come back lawful. Here's why. That man was wrestling with a couple of officers on the ground, got one of their tasers and took off running. One of the officers gets up and chases behind him. And then the video shows the man turning around like this and discharging the taser. Well, the training I've received, the training that law enforcement officers receive, says that that taser can incapacitate you. It'll drop you like a bad habit. It locks up your muscles. You can't move. Well, if you're incapacitated and you're a police officer, that's a bad place to be. Okay. So if there's a chance that you can be incapacitated, you have the lawful ability to prevent that from occurring. So what happened is the officer running behind him sees the guy turning with the taser. He doesn't have to wait for him to fire it because he knows if he fires it and strikes him, he can be incapacitated. Game over. He shoots him. So the officer is going to argue that he feared for his life. And under those circumstances, fearing for his life, what are reasonable people similarly situated going to say? Those reasonable people happen to be police officers with the same amount of experience and training he does. They're going to say, well, shoot, they taught us that if you get hit by the taser, you're incapacitated. Now you're vulnerable because you got your gun. The person can just walk up to you and shoot you. There's nothing you can do.
Wow.
Okay? So I saw a comment in the chat about facts over feelings. one of the key things that I think we make a grave error of doing in our community, because I'm Black first, I'm gonna be Black all my life. This just happens to be what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. Okay? And the reality is, I hurt just like everybody else in the Black community hurts when I see these things. My training is diverse. It's also been conflicting. So when I first started out, my training says to me, I have been robbed, because when he wrestled with the officers mm-hmm. and the man took the taser, that's a robbery in all 50 states.
Oh.
Felony.
Wow.
Okay. The officers were the victim of a robbery because the man used force
mm-hmm. Yeah.
in order to take something from another person. Now, every state defines robbery along that line, but the bottom line is he's fighting them. The video proves it. He gets the better of both of them. Mm-hmm. He takes the taser. That's robbery. This is a fleeing felon who committed a robbery of a police officer. He's got an item that in some states they say the taser is a deadly weapon.
Wow.
In other states they say, no, it's not. It can just incapacitate you. Either way, if somebody gets shot with a taser, they can't move. Somebody can walk up on them, light them up. There's nothing they can do. Okay? So what am I getting at? I said earlier, I wouldn't have shot that guy. Here's why. Okay, he overcame me. I got my behind whooped. Okay, we already got his driver's license.
Right, exactly.
We got the license plate of his car.
Exactly.
He got the better of me. Okay,
call it
radio. Mm-hmm. Hey, he went that way.
Okay, right.
Okay, and get guys and ladies bigger than I am. Mm-hmm. Okay, to go get him.
Right.
He lives for another day.
Exactly.
Okay, but there was nothing unlawful that I'm aware of in my 44 years of law enforcement, unlawful with the officer chasing him. And in most departments that I've worked, it would have been expected that he chased them. I now work in academic environments. I don't work municipal law enforcement anymore. And in an academic environment, their expectation would be get on the radio, call, have a perimeter set up. He went that way. If he gets outside of the perimeter, he's in it. He's gonna go home at some point. Mm-hmm. Wait for him, and then take him into custody. Okay, so I think we as law enforcement leaders fail the community. When I say the community, I talk about all people. Mm-hmm. Because we don't have, reasonable people leading conversations about why the officers did what they did.
Exactly. Okay? There's an explanation, right?
We need to be explaining to people mm-hmm. why we're doing what we're doing.
Yep.
We need to explain to people what the standards are, what the litmus test is. Mm-hmm. Because it's not what Pookie said on the corner.
Right.
It's what the United States Supreme Court said.
Yep.
Now, let me digress here for a moment. Last time I checked, a whole bunch of us did not vote 5 years ago. Okay? And as a result of that, we had a president that was different than what the majority of the people voted for. Mm-hmm. Okay? As such, he had the opportunity to put not one, not two, but 3 people on the United States Supreme Court.
Oh my God, yes.
Here's why this is significant. Remember I talked about Tennessee versus Garner and Graham versus Connor. What I'm telling you is during our lifetime, those decisions are not going to change. They're simply not going to change.
Right.
Okay? So we cannot look to the United States Supreme Court to have court decisions align with what the community believes should be the standard. We need to get away from that. What we need to be doing is we need to be encouraging people to get into law enforcement.
Mm.
I know you're listening like, the heck is he talking about? Okay, we need to encourage people to get into law enforcement who have hearts,
Yes.
okay, who have life experience, who have compassion, and will look at these things differently. But here's something else that we need, I believe. I believe that those people who do not feel that law enforcement is being delivered the way that they want it to be should get involved in leading departments from the perspective of police commissioners.
Yes.
Okay, I talked about that the last time I was on. A lot of people did not understand what I was getting at, so I'm going to be specific. I believe every single police department in this nation should have civilian oversight. No exceptions.
That's deep. Yeah.
Every police department should have civilian oversight. What am I getting at? Most people don't know this, but typically police commissioners are civilians, and police commissioners are above the police chief. They evaluate the police chief. In many instances, they select the police chief, discipline the police chief, or remove the police chief. They have a lot of say, not in every city, but in many. I'll use Los Angeles as an example because I worked there for 20 years. Most people don't know what I'm about to tell you. The police chief has zero authority to set department policy.
Wow, that's deep.
Okay, the police chief cannot set department policy. The civilians do. There's 5 police commissioners. They are the head of the police department. The police chief is the chief operating officer of the police department. They have civilian oversight in Los Angeles. It's just a matter of whether or not they choose to, using street vernacular, flex, because they run the department and only they can set department policy. In New York, I'll mention this TV show. I really like watching it. It's called Blue Bloods. And Tom Selleck is the main character. And you see him with this really nice NYPD uniform on. That's mythical. There's no such thing as a sworn police commissioner wearing a police uniform in New York. New York is led by a civilian. Most people don't know that. Okay? And so what I'm saying is that each one of your listeners should consider going to their community and finding out how to be a police commissioner. Run the show. No longer complain and sit on the sidelines. And I'm telling you now, burning, looting, and shooting don't get nothing done.
It don't.
Okay? You want to burn, loot, and shoot? Run the place. Okay? Because I love being in law enforcement, but I don't like some of the things that we do. And when I found out I really needed to be in charge in order to set the standard, that's why I'm a chief. That's why I've been a chief 5 times in 5 different states. Okay? For example, the president now, President Biden, he issued an edict, a few weeks ago, saying that for federal law enforcement, because he can't tell my department what to do, but for the feds, because that's what he's over, he told them, no more no-knock warrants. And no more of these chokeholds unless it's a life and death situation. Because you know what happens with no-knock warrants, and you know what happens with a lot of the chokeholds.
Yes.
Well, I said, you know what? Last time I checked, wait a minute, I'm the chief. I don't think we should have no-knock warrants. So I issued an edict last week. The next day, our policy was written and shotgunned out to all the officers. We don't do no-knock warrants. And we banned pursuits a long time ago.
Awesome.
What kind of sense does it make to do? And again, I work in an academic environment. It's asinine to be pursuing somebody in a motor vehicle on a college campus. You asking for somebody's child to get hurt.
Exactly, because the streets aren't all right.
It doesn't make any sense. So I don't allow that, period. We have to be in a position where we can affect the change that we desire. Okay? We have to have courage also, so that in situations like what happened in Uvalde with those children,
I was going to ask you about that.
okay,
Mhm.
well, I'm prepared to talk about it. Now,
Why? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, no excuse. That's my statement.
Thank
No excuse. We should have learned from Columbine.
you. Hmm.
You don't wait before you go in.
Right.
I've talked to law enforcement professionals, current and retired, all over this country since that debacle occurred. Every one of them said, Kevin, you know what we would have done, even if it was just the two of us. We would have grabbed our gear, whatever we had, and we would have rushed in there and we would have kicked that door down and we would have gone in there and we would have stopped the threat. I had a conversation here in my department. Okay, I have a department that's just under 50 sworn. And I told them, I said, I don't need to tell you what to do. I know you already know, because there are no cowards here. And we will advance toward that threat. And if that threat is dropping us, we're going to keep going and we're going to keep going and we're going to keep going until we stop the threat. But we are not going to allow people to be victims because we were paralyzed by fear. Okay. If you're not cut out to do the job, you need to find something else to do.
Thank you.
Okay? Period.
Yep.
This is no joke. It's serious business, and people need to be ready for when evil presents itself. So, and also for those of you who have not heard of this video or seen it, there's a city in Texas who came out with a video called Run, Hide, Fight. Run, hide, fight. I ask each of your viewers, please get on YouTube, watch that video.
Very good.
Yes, so you know what to do in an emergency. Also teach your children what to do in an emergency. Because you're not with your children all the time, because they're in different places. They might be swimming, basketball, sports, school, whatever. Teach them what to do. Sit down with them and watch that video. Walk through it with them to instruct them what to do. As I do presentations on safety, active shooter situations and what to do, I tell them, you know, run, hide, fight, and then I break it down. And in a nutshell, here's what they are to do. Here's what they need to do. If somebody's shooting where you're at, you need to run. And I mean, be like Forrest Gump. Run, 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 run. And keep running until you are safe. Okay? Then once you are safe, then you call 911. Don't stop to get on the phone. Like, run and get away, get safe. Then you call 911. If you can't run, then you need to hide. Now, there's a term cover and there's a term concealment. Okay? Cover is likely going to protect you from a bullet coming. Concealment just means you're hidden from view. Okay, like on TV, you'll see these movies where the actor pushes over a table and hides behind it, and then some evil person sprays the table with bullets and they're not hit. That's TV minutia.
Right.
Okay? I've yet to see a table that'll stop a bullet.
Oh, God.
So you have cover, they don't see you. Okay, I'm sorry, you have concealment. I used the wrong term. I need to walk that back. You have concealment, so they don't see you, but you don't have cover because that table will not stop a bullet. What am I getting at? What I'm getting at is you need to hide somewhere people ain't going to look. When I was a little kid, I used to hide in drawers. Okay, a person trying to shoot as many people as possible ain't going to be opening a drawer to see what's in it.
Right.
They're looking for live human bodies so that they can terminate their life. Okay, I'm gonna hide wherever I can hide. I'm gonna take a dresser, anything I can to block a door. But again, run, hide, fight will explain that to you. But you want to hide. You want to silence your phone so you don't. When my wife just called me, You don't want to be distracted by that when you should be focused on being quiet and not being seen. Okay. And then if you can't run and you can't hide, it's time to throw down. You got to fight. And this is a pen. Okay. Don't think I won't take this pen and stick it in somebody's eye. Don't think I won't take this and shove it in somebody's ear. Okay. Any martial artist will tell you that when the body feels pain, the head and the hands follow. So even if they got a gun and you jab a pin in their ear, their hands and their head are going to go toward the pain. That's just a natural mechanism from the human body. You hit them upside with a fire hydrant, okay, you're going to get their attention. So some people, when I do this presentation, I talk about nail files and pens and all sorts of things. Well, won't I get prosecuted because I hurt the bad person?
I would think not.
I would think not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, trust me, if I was a civilian and the prosecutor wanted to prosecute me because I inserted a pin into the eyeball of a person who was killing people, and they want to prosecute me, okay. And I'm gonna start me a GoFundMe page because I'm about to get rich. Okay.
Right.
My point is the community is going to come to rally for me, so I wouldn't worry about that. Here's something else. In your background, that beautiful background that you use, there's a couple of windows. Okay. Don't stop and hesitate a moment to take a chair and break out that window and go out that window. I'd rather go out that window and drop a floor or two than get shot.
Yes.
Okay. So what am I getting at? When it comes to your personal protection, what you want to do for the rest of your life, no matter where you go, is understand your surroundings. When you walk into a place, the first thing you should be looking at is, how do I get out of here? I know how I came in, but I also want to know, how do I get out?
Yeah.
And where are the exits? And is that door locked? If it isn't locked, what does it lead to? If there's some evil person on the other side of that door, can I lock it on this side? These are the types of things that you need to know. That's not paranoia. That's 2022 in the United States.
Ooh.
Okay, because the reality is we've had more mass shootings in the United States than we have had days in the year.
Oh my God.
That's a fact. So this is
why do you think that they are having such a difficult time trying to get a bill or law passed that make these 18-year-olds be 21 before they can buy semi-automatic weapons? Why is it such? To me, it's a no-brainer. Why are they just so dead set on no?
Okay, well, let me first of all qualify my response.
Okay.
I'm not a politician.
Okay.
If I was a politician, I wouldn't be on here because then I couldn't say what I need to say and what your listeners need to hear. So I'm not a politician. I'm also not politically correct. Number 3 is that money. Okay, money. So that's my opinion. That's Kevin talking. I'm not talking by representing any department or anything like that, but it's about that. So I've been listening to the different discussions on this, and now they're talking about where they don't want the boyfriend law to kick in.
I saw that.
Okay, and that might be a deal breaker. Well, if it is, take it off the table, get a bill through, and then come back and revisit that. Some people may not even know what that is about. I will talk about it very briefly. There was a bill put forth by Lautenberg. The Lautenberg bill made it so that if you were convicted of domestic violence, and if it wasn't called domestic violence, but it was domestic violence, even if it wasn't a felony, you can't possess a firearm or ammunition anymore in the United States. And they made it retroactive. That's the Lautenberg law, 18 USC 922, 18 USC 922, the Lautenberg law. So apparently the way it's written, and again, I'm not an attorney, it left out boyfriends. Okay? If you had been living together, so you're cohabiting, then and you get convicted, you can't carry a gun anymore. If you have been married, okay, and you got a child and that sort of thing, well, you can't carry a gun anymore if you went down that path of domestic violence. But apparently there was a loophole for boyfriends. Well, boyfriends love their guns, and they communicated with their representatives, the elected officials, and they don't want the screws tightened. They don't want the law strengthened so that boyfriends fall under the same thing. So if a boyfriend did that, wasn't convicted of a felony, okay, you know what? They can still get a gun.
We just had that here in Atlanta. He took her and had her call her family and say goodbye, and he killed her, shot her dead. And she had been calling the police and saying, he's threatening my life constantly. Her boyfriend killed her, just what you just described. So sad.
Yeah, well, that's a tragedy. And I'm saddened to hear that, but it happens all the time. And so that's one of the things that some of the elected officials, Democrats and Republicans, are trying to fix. Okay. It's sad, but follow the money. Follow the money.
And you're correct. But I would think that, just like one of our viewers just made a comment, I would think that seeing that children, babies, 10-year-olds being murdered and slaughtered, I would think or hope and pray that they would say, okay, we got to do something. You know, when kids are murdered, but they still don't care. They still do not care. It's so sad.
It's political.
Yes.
And it's deeply troubling. But like I said, I'm not a politician, so that's really outside my purview, but I wanted to address it. So bottom line with respect to Uvalde, no excuses, absolutely disgraceful.
Very.
And I look forward to there being a significant change in that community so that whatever police department remains is able to provide for the people. With respect to women being assaulted, okay, because domestic violence is real.
Yes.
What I have told my daughters and encouraged them to learn self-defense and to also learn the signs that, you know, this might not be the right guy for you. Okay. And so I've taught them that they need to understand that they need to be able to communicate while it's small before they get to a situation with a lot of women where they are isolated from family and friends and then being controlled and manipulated, like Robert Sylvester Kelly was doing with these girls.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
And so people, unfortunately, some are manipulated, and I think with stronger family bonds, we can encourage people not to fall for that, and also learn self-defense.
Yes.
You know, each of my children have studied martial arts. That doesn't work for everybody, but that's something that I would encourage people to consider having their loved ones do to be able to protect themselves. Okay, because the police will get there 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and by then all sorts of bad things could have happened. Look at all the people who were killed in Dayton, and from start to finish it was 33 seconds. 33 seconds after he pulled the trigger the first time. All those so many of those people were dead, and he was dead. 33 seconds. The response time for a lot of police departments varies. And it could be a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Well, a lot of the carnage is going on already. That's why you need to know what to do. So let me just wrap up that piece by saying this. I want each of your listeners to follow along with what I'm saying. If you close your eyes and imagine you are at home in bed asleep and you wake up because you have to go to the bathroom. It happens. Okay, but the power's out. Could you make it to your own bathroom? Well, of course you can.
Right.
It's your house. You can make it to your bathroom if the power's out. Okay. All I'm saying is take that same mindset wherever you go. So if you go to the movies tomorrow, You go to a Juneteenth celebration this weekend. Wherever you go, look and see what the exit paths are. Okay, because what if the power goes out? What if the evil person cuts the power?
Oh, God.
Okay, you're going to know where you need to go in order to get out. And then you run, hide, fight. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. That's
Okay.
awesome.
Listen, what I'm about to talk about now is going to make some people mad.
Okay. You got a couple minutes to make them mad.
Okay. And it has to do with the narrative that is in our community about the police are going out and actively assassinating unarmed black men and black people in general. And is there too much death at the hands of police? Yes. Should we be looking at a different way to approach interaction? Yes. Okay. But we absolutely need to examine these instances individually and hold the people accountable that did something illegal. When I'm saying, if a police officer did something wrong, they need to be held accountable. If our community member did something wrong and they survived the encounter, they need to be held accountable. And I already talked about how to do it from the police perspective, and that's the police commission. But let me share this, because you said I only got a few minutes, so let me be brief. And I'll talk about that other topic later. But imagine this. There is a police officer standing on a sidewalk, and she sees a car coming too fast down the street. So she walks in between the cars that are parked and steps out in front of the car that's barreling toward her. Mm-hmm. She's now in danger. She pulls out her gun and she shoots the driver because her life is in danger.
Oh, God.
Okay? We used to see that in the movies all the time. Dirty Harry. Mm-hmm. See it all the time. Mm-hmm. Okay? There's going to be people who would argue, well, wait a minute. Tennessee versus Garner, Graham versus Connor. She feared for her life. That was a lawful shooting. That's why we need to be running police departments and setting policies. Because in my department, okay, I'm going to fire that officer. Why? Improper tactics that resulted in the officer placing themselves in a situation where they can lawfully use force. That's how you affect change.
Yes.
And we don't need the Supreme Court for that.
No.
The chiefs can do that right now. Right now, they can start holding people accountable based upon the tactics that they use to put themselves in a situation where it resulted in the death of a human being.
And then some would say, well, how do we know that individual didn't do that on purpose? So they could say, I feared for my life. Now I can take a...
We don't. But what I do is we examine all force, not only just the use of force, but what were the circumstances before you even got there that resulted in you using the force?
Like the woman in, what was it, Minnesota, that killed the young man for pulling him over because he had an air freshener dangling from the rearview mirror, and she ended up killing him.
Is that, I'm not exactly sure I'm familiar with that, but is that the one where she said she mistook her taser for...
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah, okay, I've heard of that. Sad. But I'm not necessarily talking about that particular scenario.
Okay.
I am talking about scenarios where in the community, we're looking around saying, how did it get to that point?
Right.
Okay. How did it get to that point? And we need to stop getting to that point. And it's the responsibility of law enforcement leaders to start training up the officers so that we don't get to that point. Now, not all police shootings are avoidable. They're simply not. If you look at what happened in El Monte a couple of days ago, those officers got ambushed. They were responding to the call of domestic violence, a lady being stabbed. She had been stabbed the day before. They got set up. As soon as they got out of their car, he opened up on them. He killed two of them. God. And then another gun battle ensued, and they killed him. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those situations that are tugging at our hearts
Mhm.
They're saying, you know what, this has got to stop. It's got to stop.
And from our perspective, we need to have them come into our community, or maybe we need to educate us in terms of when you're pulled over, what do you say? What don't you say? What kind of attitude do you have? Because all that's going to do is get the officer ramped up. And, there you have it. So we need to know, because I've seen some videos where guys say it's my right to know, and they're getting antsy with the officer. Well, maybe in that particular case, it's not. Just shut up and just do what he tell you to do. And so I don't know. I
Well,
think all across the board, it needs to be education, definitely on both sides.
yes, and Chris Rock did a video. It's a
Yes.
comedy video.
Yes.
I'm not to get your ass kicked by the police, and it's on YouTube. Please,
Right.
okay. And he was being facetious, but it's also true.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the bottom line. I've been black all my life, and I've been driving for decades. Okay, have I been pulled over because I was black? Yeah. Every one of those times I was armed and black. Okay, but I'm very careful about how I interact with police when I get pulled over, because they don't know who I am, and I don't make excuses, but I also don't press the envelope, because I know that if that officer treats me wrong, when I'm done with the encounter, I got this and I can write, and I can make things very uncomfortable for the person that did not treat me right. So to wrap things up, what I'm getting at is we can do a better job of providing services to community members. I'm talking about law enforcement. I would ask that you demand, that's a strong word, that your local police start providing police services like we do on college campuses. You don't hear about all this stuff happening on college campuses, do you?
No.
That's because we are required to serve the community. It's a positive engagement. And that's what the community wants. That's what we deliver. We don't have those problems on college campuses. That's one reason why I left municipal law enforcement. You can't fake community policing on a college campus. It's impossible. You must engage. And here on our campus, our community loves us. They love us because we treat them with dignity and respect. 24/7, 365. I don't tolerate anything less than that, because I'm the one in charge. So I get to make the decision of who gets hired. I get to make the decision about whether or not your tone was appropriate when interacting with the community. It starts at the top, Dream. It starts at the top.
Awesome. Well, Chief, you got to come back on, because your knowledge is just woo. It's a wealth of knowledge that you're sharing with everybody. There's lots and lots of comments and questions. If you have some free time, go back and take a look at them. But they definitely appreciate you and everything that you're talking about. And you make some awesome, valid points. I mean, we got to do better. Point blank, period. We've got to. And I'm so glad that you see both sides of it. That's awesome.
Well, first of all, thank you. I grew up in Detroit. This shirt I have on is because I'm near and dear to Detroit. And when I was in the police academy, some people referred to me as Axel, because Beverly Hills Cop had just come out and I had just left Detroit and went to LA. As we wrap up, is there any one pressing question that you see that you would want me to address?
You know what? There was one. Let's see here. This is a good one. It said, why do they de-escalate the threat with the white mass shooter but kill on the site of other color shooter? That is an excellent, going back to the Buffalo shooting, that guy, they showed him in court being arraigned. He didn't have a mark or nothing on him. Like, that's an excellent question. Help me understand that. Maybe it's obvious. I don't know, but or even the guy that went and killed the parishioners in, what was it, South Carolina? They took him to Burger King. Like, I just don't understand.
Well, I wasn't at any of those mass shootings. I've been at a number, too many, but I wasn't at any of those. And the ones I've been at, we have taken Black people into custody who are mass shooters. We've taken white people into custody who are mass shooters, Hispanic, so forth. And we took them to get something to eat.
Really?
Oh, yes. That is very, very common. Very common. I've done it many, many times.
Why is that? Why can't they eat when they get to the jail? I don't understand.
Because, and I ran jails for 12 and a half years, so I can answer that question.
Okay.
Jails provide food on certain cycles. Okay. And if a person is hungry when they get there, or before they get there, I want to feed that person. I want to develop a rapport with the person because they might start talking.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
You know, on TV, and I haven't addressed the question directly yet, so I'm not ignoring it. But on TV, every arrest is followed by you have the right to remain silent. We don't do that. We do not read people their rights in the field like that. We're required to read it from a card, and they don't show that on TV. They're doing it from memory.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
you'll get eaten alive in court by an attorney if you ever recite a person their Miranda admonition off the cuff. We don't do that. We pull out a card and we read it. Me, in my 44 years, I might have read somebody their rights 6 or 7 times.
Wow.
In 44, you don't do that. Because you do that if they're in custody and you intend to ask them incriminating questions.
Okay.
It's a true prong test. So if they're not in custody, you don't have to read them their rights. And if I read them their rights and they say no, they lawyer up, nobody in the law enforcement chain can ask them any questions. So now I've messed it up for the detectives.
Wow.
Don't believe what you've seen on TV. It's a myth. It's an absolute myth. We don't read people their rights. You shouldn't be doing that. I don't want patrol officers reading people their rights. Let me get back to the question. I don't know the answer to that question. I will say this, it appears on the surface that that's the way that it is. What I would do is I'd look for the data because I suspect that the data is going to show something different than what we believe it is. I'm not saying that the questioner is wrong. So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what does the data say? Okay. Let me give you an example. And so I am going to go where I said I was going to piss people off. In the United States, in one calendar year, for about the last 10 years, police have killed about 250 Black people a year. Annually. 250 a year. There's people that look like me, same gender, in Chicago, Black men that are dropping at 500 a year. Okay, that's for one city.
God.
Police are killing 250 Black people, males and females combined, armed and unarmed combined, a year, 250. So what am I getting at? The data does not support the belief in the community. Let's deal with the facts. And the facts are police are killing people, too many. Yeah, I said it, too many. Yeah, we should be doing something about that, but it's 250 Black people a year on average for the past 10 years. Don't take my word for it. Check with the Washington Post.
Wow.
Because they're keeping tabs on every person of all colors, all races, everywhere in the United States.
Wow.
So the belief is the police are targeting people for assassination, particularly people that look like me and you, every day. That's factually not true. It's just simply not true. But that's what we believe. And so the belief is, and I've heard the belief from the question that was posed. I've heard it, I've read it, I've felt it. I don't know if it's true. Okay.
Yeah, that's the same question. I just put it back up for you. Yeah.
And it's worthy of research. That is a valid question. That's a good question. And people deserve an answer to that question. If I was qualified to answer it, I would answer it. But I've taken many a Black man into custody who has shot up people, okay, and taken them to get something to eat.
Wow. That's a different spin on it. That makes sense.
Well, let me say this. How did all the Black men that are currently in prison for murder, for rape, all the things that Black men are in prison for, on death row or got life sentences, how did they get there if they had a gun at the time that the police arrested them, since we killed every Black man we take into custody? Matter of fact, how did anybody get into prison, but particularly Black men? How'd they get there? That's because the perception in the community is different than the reality.
Well, you made a good point earlier. We've got to get more involved. Like you said, in some cities, civilians can be commissioners. We've got to get involved. That's how you put a stop to it.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Because there's nothing we could do about the Supreme Court right now, because
Nope.
you know who took care of that, unfortunately. But we can definitely do something on a local level.
Yes, we can. And yes, we should. Listeners, please start going to those police commission meetings. Start getting engaged. Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. We have one of the viewers that says she's interested. So that's good. You got her going. Definitely.
Okay. Well, Kimberly, I'm on Facebook, and just look me up, send me a message, and I will help you. I have some people that can help you with that.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, that's why I made you the law enforcement expert for the show. We got to have you come back, Chief Kevin, to definitely talk more, because, you know, we need to know. We need to be informed and know what's going on instead of getting our news from Pookie on the corner. Like you said earlier, we've got to know the facts. So I appreciate you so much for coming on Let's Talk. You're a wealth of knowledge. You stay safe, sir. And I'll be in touch with you to see when you can come back on. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
That was awesome, you guys. Was that not good? Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Thank you, Chief Kevin Williams. Appreciate you coming on. And that's what we need to do. That's what Let's Talk is all about, is informing, making sure that we know what's truly going on versus just, you know, what we hear, knowing the facts, knowing the laws. I mean, I learned something tonight that most civilians are commissioners, are police commissioners. So I think that's great. We got to get involved in the community. Definitely. So I'm going to thank my expert guests, Kimberly McCants, relationship expert, Chief Kevin Williams, who's a law enforcement expert. You'll see them more. They've got their own segments, and I'm super excited to have them part of the Let's Talk family. So you guys, as we close out the show, we went over a little today, but it was well worth it. We learned a lot, right? So make sure you put your comments and your questions in the comment section, and they will go back and read them and get back with you. So as we close out the show, I saw two awesome quotes. They're from unknown sources. One of them basically said, attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Huge. You can get so much done, and people will help you when you've got a great attitude. The other one, as you guys probably know, is you get more with honey than vinegar. So always smile, especially when you call a customer assistance center or you're in the store, you need some help, what have you. Just have a good attitude, no matter what. Just have a good attitude. You get so much more. So you guys, as we close out the show, I just want to tell you, do one good thing for one person each day, and you can affect 365 lives. If no one has told you that they loved you, know that I love you. Stay safe out there. And like Kevin said, just always know where the exit signs are and always be prepared, because we are living in some crazy times. So again, I love you guys. See you here next week. And with those words, I'm out.